Dozens of angry Vermonters showed up outside the State House today demanding the legislature repeal a law that would make it harder to build housing in rural areas. The law, widely known as Act 181, it passed 2 years ago and is now set to take effect this coming summer. ABC 22's Matt Holderman was there today for the protest, and he joins us now live in the studio with more here.
Yeah, Lauren, that's right. Act 181 is also known as the Act 250 reform law. It was created to knock down decades-old housing barriers that were put in place by Act 250 all those years ago. While this would help cities and larger towns continue growing, some people take issue with it because it would also make it harder to build housing in Vermont's quietest corners. Tuesday marked a rural Vermont takeover of the State House front lawn. Dozens of people from the state's smallest communities all gathering with one message.
No more decisions about rural Vermont without rural Vermonters at the table.
They're asking the legislature to stop a law called Act 181 from going into effect this summer. It passed 2 years ago with two combined goals: getting rid of age-old land use laws to make it easier to build housing in larger, faster-growing communities, while also putting more environmental protections in place for rural parts of the state. The issue that arose, however, through Act 181's tier-based system is it would suddenly make it a lot harder for rural Vermont landowners to build on their own properties due to those new environmental safeguards. That has some people not only angry, but also worried about their families' futures.
It threatens my family and families like mine that are trying to build something meaningful and sustainable.
It limits what families can do with land that is often their only meaningful wealth.
Others worry it would strip entire rural towns of the chance to grow, essentially freezing them in time.
What we have done is tell them that from this day forward, they're going to have a very difficult time improving their lives.
One bill that would delay parts of Act 181 from going into effect is progressing through the State House. It would pause what's known as the road rule, which would make housing developments down new, very long roads or driveways automatically subject to Act 250 review. The bill would also require that landowners and local officials get direct notice of changes to land use laws that could affect them, something that rural Vermonters feel did not happen with Act 181.
It has become clear that there was no single responsibility for making sure Vermonters understood all that Act 181 does.
Now, the bill that would delay parts of Act 181 from taking effect passed out of the Senate and is now in the House. State Senator Russ Ingalls, who helped run today's protest, told rural Vermonters to keep coming back to the State House and in larger numbers to make sure that their voices are heard and make sure those delays happen. Reporting live in the studio, Matt Holderman, ABC 22 News.